Now there's a lot of things in this anime that can be spoiled for you, so I'm gonna just do my best to do a general synopsis of what the anime is. It basically takes place in the very distant future. I mean, at first it doesn't really look like the distant future, it looks like the very distant past, you know, back when there was no electricity and all that stuff. And the dominating race in this very distant future are people that have these psychokinetic powers known as Cantus. Now, this power can do absolutely anything. You can levitate rocks, you can make fire with your mind, you can make love? Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get my point. It's a very powerful ability. It's like if the X-Men all gathered together and finally overthrew humans as the dominant species. That's what this world would be like. And we follow Saki Watanabe, the main protagonist of the story, and her 4 friends as they learn to harness and control their Cantus. But as they learn to control their powers, the more they begin to unravel the secrets of the village that they live in and come to realize that the world they live in isn't what it seems. And that is the best I can do without spoiling a single thing in this anime. Now, I was recommended to watch this anime by 2 of my subscribers, Get Paid to Play 53 and J Moo Moo Moo. And you all voted for this anime to be reviewed this month, and it actually was the other anime that tied with Oreshida. And honestly, I should have watched this anime first because this was the better anime. This anime is so intriguing, so interesting. I couldn't take myself away from the screen. It's kind of the same feeling that I got from watching Fate Zero or Attack on Titan. Although for the majority of the anime, it's not as epic as those 2 animes, but nearing the end, it does pick up in a big way. And I actually thought I was gonna hate this anime because at the beginning of it, it was very slow. It felt like there was nothing really going on and it wasn't leading to anything. But I promise you guys, every single moment in this anime has relevance and significance later on to the story. Now, as much as it's an obvious thing to say this, I have to mention this. This anime has some of the most beautiful animations I've seen since Attack on Titan. I mean, the animation is just gorgeous, so pristine. Honestly, I just really like the overall style of the anime. It was very unique to me, especially the way that the characters' eyes looked. I mean, I haven't really seen eyes like that in other anime characters, and I really like the new design. And now we come to what I think is probably the greatest aspect of this anime, its story. It is so intricate and compelling. It'll keep you guessing to the end. I mean, really, when I said that every story and every element has significance, I really mean that. Even the boring scenes have relevance later on to the story. Mostly this anime is told from the perspective of Saki, our main character. It really never leaves her side, especially when there's other action going on. It still stays with her because she is the main focus of the anime. And as much as this anime is about many things, truthfully, it's actually a coming of age story about how your perception of when you were young, like how the world works basically, will change as you grow. One thing I really noticed in this anime is that at first, the characters really didn't understand the inner workings of the society that they lived in, the village that they lived in. They kind of were mad at them that they were doing all this, but as they grew up, they started to understand why these things had to happen. To sound cliche, they did it for the greater good. They wanted to protect the village from any impending threat. And that is a very interesting conflict that happens throughout this entire anime, whether or not the choices that they made were for the best or for the worst. And although personal opinions do cloud some of the characters' judgment, they can't deny that honestly, if they didn't do this one thing, then the village would have been in trouble or something might have gone wrong that they could not foresee. So in a sense, you could kind of understand where they're coming from, why these rules were established, and why the heads of the village were doing what they were doing. The resentment as a child now turned into understanding as a young adult. And honestly, that's a very relevant thing to all of us. I mean, I remember as a kid, I hated my parents for spanking me or disciplining me in any sort of way, but as I grew up, that resentment turned into understanding. I know why they did it, why they acted that way, and in the long run, it made sense and it was very helpful. Not only that, but this anime serves as a commentary about the world in its past and its current state. In fact, one of my subscribers sent a message to me talking about Shiunsekai Yori and how it's basically an analysis of the human condition, and they are absolutely right. I saw a lot of parallels from events that took place in this anime with real life events that happened in the past and that are happening right now. A good example of this is the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq. And kind of going along with the story, I really love the way that this anime concluded. I mean, the ending was very shocking. There's a twist at the end of this anime that just threw me back. I mean, I should have saw it coming, but I didn't see it coming. And I just loved how it ended on such a positive note that it gives me hope for the world that they live in. And speaking of characters, the last thing that I really liked about this anime is that every single character was very fascinating, multi-layered, and well developed. Now there are so many characters in this anime to talk about, but the few that really stood out was Saki Watanabe, of course. She is our main character. You follow her, you get to know her, she goes through quite a development, and her 4 friends, you really feel like they're a group of friends, they really care about each other. But the one character that I found the most interesting, and I kind of went back and forth, liking him, hating him, liking him, hating him, not trusting him, was this one character by the name of Squealer. Squealer is a very, very, very interesting character, and that's all I can really say without giving any spoilers away. Really keep an eye on this guy, he's gonna surprise you. Now, as much as I really did love the intricate story and fascinating characters, I did have a few problems with this anime. The first one being what I like to call the infamous episode 8. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't like this episode mainly because of its subject matter. The characters do something in this episode that I found rather shocking. Not because that they were doing it, is because there was no real lead up or hint that it was leading up to this moment, or that these characters felt this way about another character. It kind of just threw me on a loop. It kind of felt like they threw it in there just to shock its audience, like, oh my god, look at this. And I don't like it when stories do that. I like it when stories kind of explain why a certain character either likes another character or reacts a certain way. This is the only element in the entire story that I felt like was never really explored. It was just like, oh hey, here you go. The characters are gonna act like this now after a few years passed by. And I was just like, why? I mean, there was no real explanation. Now, of course, they do explore one of the relationships in episode 8 later on in the series, but it would have been nice to see that earlier, or at least to get a hint that this was gonna happen instead of just taking us aback by this scene. I was just like, well, that came out of nowhere. It really felt like it came out of left field, like, oh hey, let's add this. Let's see what they think about that one, huh? Now, to emphasize it once more, I have no real problem with the subject matter that was tackled in episode 8. I just felt like there was a lack of build-up to explain why they did what they did. It would have been nice to be informed, or at least get a subtle hint that we were leading up to this. It just kind of came at us. Another problem that I had with this anime, and it could be attributed to the fact that this anime was told only from the perspective of Saki, is that I felt like some characters deserved a better send-off than the ones that they got, and other characters deserved more insight into their lives, more development. I wish we got to know a little bit more about these characters. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of fascinating characters in this anime, and it would have been nice to know a little bit more about them, or to see a proper farewell, or you know, a proper send-off for these characters. But nope, sometimes they just disappear, or maybe you don't even know much about them. And one thing that really pisses me off, and this is more of a pet peeve, I will not hold this against the anime, is when they kill a character off screen, especially a great character. I really feel they deserved a better send-off than just somebody coming out of nowhere and saying, oh yeah, this so-and-so died. Really? Really? But overall, besides its minor problems, Shiunsekai Yori is a well-executed and very intriguing anime that will keep you glued to the screen with its fascinating characters beautiful animation, and enticing story. And that's why I'm going to give this anime a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is definitely one hell of an anime, and it's one of the best animes I've seen this year. Definitely go check it out. But anyway, what did you guys think of this anime? Did you like it a lot like I did? Or did you find it slow and dull and you really didn't care? And let me know, who is the most fascinating anime character in your opinion? Comment below and let me know.